Hello everyone, welcome to the 140 Q&A practice. I'm going to give you a small word list. Ready? Cloth, remnants, trappings, curtains, suppression, interject, alarm, banners, flags, drapes, fabric, church. Don't forget your FRP for the Urch, KHU FRP. Atlanta, assembly room, balcony. And this subject is a church fire. Okay, we're going to start with defense. Ready? I take it from your testimony that you made no finding or determination as to the actual material, the cloth material, that may have been involved in this fire as to what that material really was. No, ma'am. Other than a cloth fabric? No, ma'am. It wasn't possible to determine that. I then assume from your answers, and correct me if I am wrong, that this cloth material, the bits that you found, could have been remnants from practically any type of material that was in the area, for instance, church trappings or banners or something of the sort like that. That possibility was only eliminated because there was nothing, as I recall, no drapes, for instance, or flags or curtains ordinarily in that area. I certainly couldn't eliminate someone having carried one over there, but there were no drapes in that area that you observed, that I saw or observed at the time of your investigation, at the time of my investigation, or upon subsequent interviews with people connected with the church. Do you know from your records or from any other source approximately what time this fire commenced? I can only tell you from the record as to what time the fire department was called. What does that say? It indicates that the Atlanta Fire Department received its alarm at 9:47 p.m. Is there anything in those records, or is there anything from your personal observation or knowledge to determine how long the fire had been in existence by the time the alarm was received? Yes, ma'am. What is that? The statements of witness Overson that she left the church at 8:45 p.m., which would have meant that the Atlanta Fire Department was called an hour and 2 minutes later. You are assuming that when Mrs. Overson left, the church was not on fire? According to her, ma'am, it wasn't. Am I correct that you earlier testified that according to Mrs. Overson's statement to you, when she left the church, she did not actually, at approximately 8:45, leave the physical church where the fire was itself, but it was from some other part of the building or complex? May I interject? The main assembly room of the church building, I suppose, would be a more accurate description, and that when she left at approximately 8:45, as she told you, she did not leave from the main assembly room. Is that correct? That's right, ma'am. And the fire that we are speaking of occurred in this main assembly room. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am. According to Mrs. Overson's statement to you, when was the last time that she was in the main assembly room of this church? She believed that she was in the room between 8 p.m. and 8:15 p.m. in the main assembly area when she turned the lights on, made an inspection, and turned the lights off. Did your investigation or report reveal the presence of any other known persons in the main assembly room from approximately 8:15 p.m. to, let us say, 9:47 p.m.? No, ma'am, not that I could establish. when you arrived at the scene on the evening of this fire, several units, fire suppression units of the Atlanta Fire Department were already on the scene. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am. Do you know how they gained entrance to the main assembly room? As I recall, they forced the main front doors of the church itself. This would be directly below the balcony at the front of the church, typical church front doors. The main entrance front doors? Yes, ma'am. They forced these doors. Is that your recollection? As I recall, this is the way it was done. I take it from the way you answered that last question that you do have some recollection of this incident. Yes, ma'am. You do have some independent recollection of the whole affair? Oh, yes, it comes back to me as we go along. So some of your answers are based on your own independent recollection, and some are based on the written documents that you brought with you today? Yes, certainly. Good. Now, based on either your written records or your own personal recollection, I will tell you if it is one or the other. These main doors you just spoke of, do they open out or do they open in? I don't recall, but I can say that I believe the Georgia Fire Code requires they open out. So I'm certain they do not open out, or they do open out. Okay. We'll switch transcripts. You're going to hear vehicle in this one, V long EK. Pedestrian is PED. Conversation, initial K, final FRGS. Eastbound is EB. Proceeding and accelerated. And this is going to be plaintiff questioning. Ready? Now, you saw one vehicle in motion which was proceeding away from you in an eastbound direction. That is correct. Did you see any other vehicles in motion, either going east or west, at the time you saw this eastbound vehicle? No, sir. Did you see any pedestrians around the street or in the street itself? Not in the street, no, sir. In other words, when you say you saw this vehicle going east at a normal rate of speed, approximately what number of miles per hour do you mean? Well, the vehicle didn't attract my attention as far as being a speeding vehicle. It appeared to be just driving at a normal rate of speed for that street at that time of night. Now, when you had this conversation with Mrs. Boyd, did she relate anything about this eastbound moving vehicle? Yes, she did. All right, now as a result of that conversation, what did you and Mr. Miller do? Go ahead. Well, immediately we went on and pursued the vehicle. Now, when you say you pursued this vehicle, will you tell us what you did? We turned on the red lights of the police vehicle and accelerated rapidly in pursuit of the vehicle. Did the police unit stop the vehicle that you were pursuing? Yes, sir. And where did you stop the vehicle? At what location? We stopped the vehicle on Vermont. Okay, switching transcripts again. And again, this is the medical Q&A. Here we go. Then would it be that after Mr. Johnson had had a period of sleep would be an accurate time as to when he came out of the acute alcoholic hallucinosis state that he was in? Yes, again, probably there would still be some residual, shall we say, organic symptoms, probably the next day or so after acute intoxication. During the period of time that he was suffering from this hallucinosis, would he have any lucid intervals? Lucid to the extent that he could focus his attention and identify somebody talking to him and possibly even respond with what might be an appropriate statement. During this period of time that we are describing as lucid, would he be able to distinguish, say, from right or wrong, or would he know the nature and quality of his acts? I think those are two different questions. Let's take one at a time. Theoretically, if something were presented to him as right or wrong, he might be able to make the decision. For example, when he was riding back in the police car, he recalls being pushed down against the floor, the handcuffs hurting, and he recalls asking to have them released, and he knew he was in a police car at that point. He might have been able to answer questions regarding right or wrong. I don't think he had full comprehension of why he was there or what was happening. Just prior to this time that he was in this police car, do you have an opinion of whether or not he could understand the nature and quality of his acts? My feeling was that he could not fully comprehend what he was doing or why he was doing it. Is it your opinion that he was operating under this delusion of the threat from the devil? Yes, I have nothing further. Cross-examination. Okay, and that concludes our 140 Q&A practice. Have a great day.